Greetings and salutations, YouTubers. This is Zillafan85 back today with my latest video, one that I was actually anticipating on doing for a while and was really looking forward to. This, of course, is my personal favorite arc from Dragon Ball Z. As some of you may know who have followed along with some of my other videos, Dragon Ball Z, DBZ is my all-time favorite anime, one of my favorite fandoms in general. So I just thought it would be kind of a cool little idea for a video, just to discuss, my personal favorite arc from Dragon Ball Z, and that is, of course, as you can see here, the Namek / Frieza Saga. I personally group it all into one arc, one major arc, one saga, if you will. I know some other people, some other fans and whatnot tend to sort of split it up into different sagas that culminate in the entire, in this entire major storyline, story arc. But I basically kind of consider it one major saga. That basically the first saga of Dragon Ball Z, the first major saga, was the Saiyan Saga, of course. That ended after Vegeta's defeat, and of course, when he escapes from Earth in his space pod, and that basically ends the Saiyan Saga, the Saiyan arc. And then, at least the way that I've always viewed it, ever since watching this as a kid, was that the Namekian arc starts, basically immediately thereafter. Goku and the others nurse their wounds, and then, of course, they devise the plan, because obviously Vegeta and Nappa were discussing how the Namekians created the Dragon Balls, and that there must be a planet Namek out there, which obviously, unfortunately, now they don't have the Earth's Dragon Balls at their disposal, since Piccolo had died, during that battle against, against the Saiyans. So now their plan to bring their friends back, because other than him, you also had Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu, who had all perished as well during that Saiyan battle. So they wanted to use the Dragon Balls to bring their friends back to life. So that's kind of what kick-started this arc for them, for the heroes anyway. But then, of course, you've got a multitude of other things going on during this arc as well. So I'm just going to kind of discuss it just a little bit. I know I always tend to carry on in my videos a lot. I'm going to try my best to not do so. It is difficult. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about here. I'm just going to kind of try my best to just kind of sum some things up, just discuss it. If some of you know who have followed along with my other videos, I don't have the the tech to do clips and whatnot. So this is so when I do these types of videos, they're what I consider like the podcast-ish style. So so just bear that in mind with going forward with this video. But I'll do my best to just, like I said, just kind of discuss some things from the arc, as well as why, to me personally, that it is my favorite arc in DBZ. So again, so kind of getting back into it. So like I said, that's kind of what kick-started this arc, as we watch our heroes. Unfortunately, Goku at the beginning of the arc, he was very badly injured during his battle with Vegeta, and so he's kind of out of commission, stuck in the hospital. Gohan and Krillin, who are the other survivors from the Saiyan battle, did not sustain those heavily of injuries as Goku did, I should say. So they healed up a lot faster, and together with Bulma, they decided to try to see if they could find planet Namek and use the Namekian Dragon Balls, like I said, to bring their friends back. That being Piccolo and the others. Kind of with that, that's, like I said, this is kind of what jump-started. Obviously, they were going to need a spaceship, and it was discovered by, of course, Kami's, right-hand man, Mr. Popo, that Kami's ship was still intact and so he brought Bulma to have a look at it, and that was in trying to remember back, because obviously it's been a while since I've watched the Namekian saga, but that was back in Yunzabit Heights, I believe it was called, was where he brought her to look at the spaceship, and it was still functioning. They just had to do some things to get it in order, and she had to learn some commands because the ship's commands were in Namekian. So so once she was able to get a hang of all that, because obviously Bulma being the whiz that she is with tech and everything, so then she got the hang of it, and together with, like I said, with Gohan and Krillin, the three of them took off to try and reach planet Namek. I guess the ship, I believe, had some sort of ability to, in and of itself, to be able to home in on the planet. And then of course there were some filler episodes at the beginning as well, where they run into like this group of like these space refugees, these kids that had escaped their planet, and were saying that this horrible force had destroyed their home planet, or I'm trying to think, was it planet or planets? Trying to remember back. But they mentioned that the force's name was this evil, this sort of evil warlord named Frieza, but obviously, Bulma and the others had no idea who Frieza was, so it didn't really mean much to them. But, you see stuff like that, and then, of course, the ship ends up landing on this, or sort of crash landing on this other planet, or this planet which they were greeted by what looked like Namekians, and then of course it ended up being a ruse that these creatures, had devised a fake Namek, basically. So, so these are some interesting episodes, and to me, it kind of added to the buildup of it. Once they kind of, overcame these aliens that were pretending to be Namekians and escaped off of the fake Namek, as it's called, then of course they end up on the real Namek itself. They're able to safely land on the planet, and the air on Namek is breathable, so they're free to explore and try to find the Namekians, which they did find out that there was. I'm trying to remember how that came to be, but they did find out that there was a multitude of Namekians still left alive on the planet, so they were going to try to use their help and try to find the Dragon Balls. And then this is where you kind of see some of the main threats coming together. Because kind of while they were on their journey venturing to Namek 2, that's when you saw Vegeta end up in this strange sort of space station area, and he was put into that rejuvenation tank to heal his wounds. And once he was healed up, he still had the intention to go to Namek himself to get the Namekian Dragon Balls, and he caught wind from some of Frieza's, or from some henchmen, I should say, at this point, that it was then, mentioned that they were in like a sort of space station or whatever it was, headquarters, for Frieza, for this warlord Frieza. So obviously it then came to be known that Vegeta, at least, maybe not at this point, but at least at one point, was employed by the service, for his services to Frieza, obviously. So I'm just trying to kind of explain this as best as I can. But nonetheless, though, then Frieza had left with a group of henchmen to Planet Namek on his own in order to try to obtain the Dragon Balls. So Vegeta decided not to waste any time, and he left in a space pod for the planet as well. So shortly after Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma land on Planet Namek, that's when they see a ship arrive and pretty much devise that it was a Saiyan space pod, and of course that was Vegeta landing on the planet, and then another space pod arrives very shortly after, in the same area that Vegeta was in, And that's when it was discovered in that other space pod that it was one of Frieza's henchmen, one of his stronger henchmen known as Kui. So that was, certainly interesting. Kui kind of considered himself a rival to Vegeta. I believe that their power levels, at least back during the Saiyan arc, were probably similar, or Kui was even considered stronger. And then at this point, when they're sort of getting into a scuffle, that's when you see in another area on the planet, Frieza and all his henchmen, and they're aware of what's going on, because obviously they all have the use of their scouters. So, which was something that was first brought about during the Saiyan arc, of course, when Raditz arrived on Earth. So they know that Vegeta and Kui are there, and getting into a scuffle. But that's when, who was it? I think it was Dodoria that said that one of Frieza's top henchmen, along with one of Frieza's other top henchmen, that being Zarbon, but Dodoria kind of mentions that Kui's power level was supposedly a lot higher than Vegeta's, so they figured it would be an easy battle. And then it turns out that Vegeta, because of his battling on Earth, became much more powerful and easily defeated Kui in battle. So Dodoria and Zarbon were pretty surprised, but Frieza wasn't, because Frieza knew that Vegeta was under heavy combat and knew of the Saiyans' ability to get stronger from being under combat, that they have what we've come to know as the Zenkai boosts, which, obviously bulk up one's power level a lot higher, or at least somewhat higher anyways. In this case, though, it was considerably higher for Vegeta. So anyway, though, so this is kind of what just kickstarts the whole thing. And so basically, it's really, really cool, then Gohan, Krillin, they sort of stumble onto Frieza and his men when they're looking for the Dragon Balls. They had noticed these very powerful forces that had arrived on the planet, and they were still trying to find the Dragon Balls. And that's when they saw Frieza and his men. They were in this one of the Namekian villages, and of course, the henchmen were dispatching of the Namekians in the village, and basically, last second, they were, right before they did, I believe it was Dodoria almost killed one of the Namekian children, but was saved by Gohan and Krillin, and that, of course, that Namekian child was none other than Dende, who was a very well-known Dragon Ball character. And obviously becomes quite important as the series goes on. So that's when they were discovered at this point, but they escaped. They managed to escape with Dende. And so basically from here on out, I'm just kind of doing some setup. I'm not going to go into every little detail here, but I just kind of wanted to set the whole thing up. So this is what basically starts. It's like a three-way race to try to find all the Dragon Balls. It comes to be known that Frieza already has several of them in his possession. And then so Gohan and Krillin are really, really at a disadvantage here in this situation, because then, like I said, then you have Vegeta looking for the Dragon Balls as well, and Vegeta's got his own motives. Obviously, he wants revenge against Frieza. He wants to overtake him, and along the way, with Vegeta's own quest to find the Dragon Balls, he stumbles into Dodoria, and it's shown that Vegeta is stronger than Dodoria and was able to defeat him without too much of a hassle. And later, a little later on in the arc, Vegeta ends up fighting Zarbon, and Vegeta thinks that he's more powerful than Zarbon, but then it's revealed that Zarbon has a transformation that he can undertake, and he gets a boost in power from it, of course, and was able to overpower Vegeta at this point and defeat him. Zarbon ends up, because of Frieza's decree, needs to take Vegeta hostage. So he throws him in the rejuvenation tank because Frieza wants answers from Vegeta, regarding, the Dragon Balls, etc., etc. So, once Vegeta recovers, obviously, again, a Zenkai boost here, as it's shown, and he manages to escape Frieza's ship and take possession of Frieza's Dragon Balls with him. So, certainly a nice little setup here. At the same time, Gohan and Krillin searching for the Dragon Balls. I believe I'm trying to remember back. I think they did end up with one at this point, right? Because that was when, because Krillin had brought Dende to the elder Namek, who of course is Guru, and he's the eldest Namek, I should say, and the one who the Dragon Balls of Namek are linked to. So he's basically like the Namekian version of Kami, because he's the elder Namek and essentially the guardian of the planet. So anyway, so it's revealed though too that Guru can unleash hidden potential within beings. So he was able to do so with Krillin and give him a Zenkai boost, and then Krillin asks if he could do the same for Gohan, and Guru says to bring Gohan to him. So Krillin goes back with the 1-star Dragon Ball that Guru had in his possession at that point, but unbeknownst to him, because he was putting off a lot of power, he was discovered by Vegeta and tracked by Vegeta, and then Zarbon stumbled onto them as well and got into the fold. So when Krillin made it back to Bulma and it was discovered Gohan was off looking for another Dragon Ball, basically at that point, Krillin got back to Bulma, and then Vegeta got there, and then Zarbon got there, and Zarbon thought he still had the advantage, and transformed, of course, and everything, but then, Vegeta revealed that he was stronger this time and was able to handily defeat Zarbon in battle and basically kill him at that point. So he took Krillin's Dragon Ball as well and flew off, thinking he was going to have... I believe it was pretty much all the Dragon Balls at this point. Trying to think whether he had 5 or 6 in his possession already up to that point. I'm just trying to remember back. I think he might have already had 6, so he was figuring he was going to pretty much have them all. But of course, Gohan took the one from that other village, and it was a village that Vegeta had previously destroyed as well in order to get a Dragon Ball. So you've got that as well to deal with. But nonetheless, though, Gohan did make it back to to Bulma and Krillin after sort of running into Vegeta, and Vegeta didn't realize Gohan had taken the Dragon Ball that Vegeta had previously gotten from that village when he destroyed it and killed all the Namekians in it. But nonetheless, though, because Gohan was able to hide it, Vegeta let him go, just more concerned about gathering up the Dragon Balls, and Gohan made it back to Krillin and Bulma with the Dragon Ball that he had gotten, and then of course the 3 of them, I should say, left to find another place to hide out because they knew Vegeta was going to be back, which of course he was once he discovered that Gohan was hiding the Dragon Ball that he had found. So it's sort of everything's building up here. They find a new hiding spot. Krillin takes Gohan to Guru to see if he can have some power unlocked from inside of him. Because it was definitely shown that it was a nice, large Zenkai boost for Krillin, so he knew it was going to be the same for Gohan. So that's where they head off to, and I believe Vegeta does sort of track them, but not before they can get there. And then with the other Dragon Ball that Bulma had, at that point they were just sort of, they were again doing a little bit of filler where she has like this little mini adventure of her own with that Dragon Ball and protecting it and all. So that was a couple episodes worth, which I do remember. It was a little bit of a lag, sort of a filler thing, but again, just kind of helped to build it up. And then, of course, once Krillin takes Gohan to Guru, Guru discovers Gohan's got a lot of hidden potential, probably a lot more than any of them realized. So he was able to unlock some hidden powers within Gohan. He gets a nice Zenkai boost as well. And then, of course, Vegeta shows up at that point. And Guru's sort of right-hand Namekian Nail is there as well. Nail is actually revealed to be much more powerful than the average Namekian. And Guru said that he could be a great help to him. So once Vegeta arrives, he's about to get into a bit of fisticuffs with the others, but then they sense that a very strong force is coming, and it was discovered that Frieza had sent for his very specialized force known as the Ginyu Force, a group of 5 elite soldiers, who are the top of them are stronger than any of Frieza's other men. So most of them, 4 of the 5, that is the case. There was the one weaker member, but still, a very crafty one nonetheless. We'll get into that in just a minute. So they arrived, and Vegeta knew how strong they were. So basically, at this point, this was sort of an interesting turning point, because now Vegeta was basically forced to have to work with Gohan and Krillin. So they head off. They need to gather up the Dragon Balls. Vegeta says, "Let me use the wish on me for eternal life, blah blah blah," so that he can be able to defeat them and defeat Frieza ultimately. It's just because of the situation, Gohan and Krillin had to reluctantly agree. They go back to where Bulma is, retrieve the Dragon Ball that they had there, and then Vegeta already had 6, so they were going to bring that last one to them and have all 7 Dragon Balls gathered up. Of course, the Ginyu Force arrives in front of Frieza, and obviously has their mission to defeat Vegeta and the others and retrieve the Dragon Balls. So they use their scouters to track down where Vegeta and the others are and head off to do so. So Vegeta, Gohan, and Krillin do arrive at Vegeta's sort of resting spot where he had the 6 Dragon Balls. Obviously the 7th one in hand with Gohan and Krillin. But they're, as you could imagine, very reluctant to just hand over the last Dragon Ball to Vegeta, and they're again about to get into a scuffle when the Ginyu Force arrives, and of course they take possession of all 7 Dragon Balls, and Captain Ginyu flies off to bring the Dragon Balls to Frieza and let his men handle Vegeta and the others. So that's sort of when you get into the battle, which they sort of, this part of the arc they sort of call the Ginyu Saga, but again, to me, like I said, it's just one major arc, and this is definitely once things start ramping up here. So they get into battling. Gohan and Krillin take on the weakest member of the Ginyu Force, Guldo, but he's got that special time freezing trick up his sleeve that makes it difficult for him to defeat. And he trapped Gohan and Krillin in this sort of mind freeze thing that he had, and was about to finish him off when Vegeta stepped in the last second and killed Guldo when he wasn't looking, so struck him from behind, which was an interesting act, but I guess just Vegeta just needed their help. So but you do start to see some character growth from Vegeta here, at least, especially in that instant anyways. So then Vegeta takes on the next member of the Ginyu Force himself, and that, of course, is Recoome, and he puts up a good fight, but Recoome is too much of a match for him, and defeats Vegeta, and pummels Krillin, and Gohan's left alone, tries to fight, but unfortunately he's not much of a match. So he's pretty much defeated as well when another ship arrives on Earth. and of course, two, that being Goku himself. Goku, who had recovered and was venturing on a different spaceship that that Bulma's father, Dr. Brief, had created using the Saiyan technology from Nappa's ship to devise his own ship, and he also added in a gravity enhancer. So Goku was training under extreme gravity. Actually, ended up to 100 times Earth's normal gravity, and just under that extreme duress on his venture to Namek, just gained an enormous amount of power, probably more than he even realized. So he arrives on Namek and gets to the scene as quickly as he can once he senses the others, and he kind of uses this sort of mind-reading ability to read, I think it was Krillin's mind, and figure out what's going on. You know, of course, too, he had some sensu beans, so he healed up Gohan, Krillin, and Vegeta with them. And I think he still had a couple left over anyway. But or maybe not. I'm thinking maybe not. Anyway, though, so then he steps into the fray, and he just demolishes Raccoon in one hit, and just easily defeats Birder and Jace. Jace escapes to go get Captain Ginyu to sort of to come back and handle Goku. But you know, they were once they are heading back, that's Goku sends Gohan and Krillin off to get the Dragon Balls, because they realize that they're left unguarded at this point now, because Frieza left on his own, because he couldn't use the dragon, even though he had all 7 of them. He couldn't get them to work to grant his wish for immortality. So he sensed Guru, Nail and Dende, and went off to talk to them to try to force it out of them, basically, how to use the Dragon Balls. So that's what he was doing there. And of course, Captain Ginyu and Jace arrived back on the scene. Gohan and Krillin were gone. Vegeta said he was going to help Goku out, but then took off to get the Dragon Balls himself. Of course, still an underhanded Vegeta at this point. Goku faces down with Captain Ginyu, and even with Captain Ginyu's strength, Goku is still more than a match. But then, of course, you had that whole thing with the Captain Ginyu being able to change bodies and whatnot, and he switched bodies with Goku, even though he couldn't use Goku's full potential, unbeknownst to him at first. And then, of course, they went back to Frieza's spaceship to stop, Gohan, Krillin, and Vegeta. And Goku, who was using an injured Captain Ginyu's body, slowly made his way back. And then, of course, a bit of a showdown there with them. Jace was killed off by Vegeta, who had also finished off Raccoon and Birder previously once they were defeated by Goku. So Vegeta pretty ruthless here. And then Captain Ginyu, who was going to change bodies with Vegeta, at this point with Goku's body, then, well, no, actually, Vegeta, because Captain Ginyu had ended back in his own body while he was trying to get Vegeta's body, and Goku ended up back in his own body, but he was badly hurt at this point. So Captain Ginyu tried again to get Vegeta's body, and that's when Goku threw the frog in the way, and that's, of course, the Ginyu frog at that point. So very interesting. But anyway, though, so kind of going along here, they let Ginyu go. Goku's badly injured, and I believe, I guess it was they didn't have any sensu beans left, so Vegeta put him in one of Frieza's rejuvenation tanks to heal up, and gives Gohan and Krillin the Saiyan armor that they've got, and the 3 of them are gonna have to just kind of get ready to face off with Frieza. Dende had left before Frieza got there to help Gohan and Krillin use the Dragon Balls to grant their wishes. So Vegeta was resting for a bit, and that's when Dende arrived, and the 3 of them took the Dragon Balls to sneak off and use them to to try and revive their friends. But it was revealed that with the Namekian Dragon Balls, because they have 3 wishes, but they can only revive one person at once, this was going to cause a bit of an issue here, obviously, with reviving the others. But they did revive Piccolo first, and then use the second wish to bring him to planet Namek, because Piccolo wanted to join in on the fight. Which he was training at King Kai's with Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu, so all of them had gotten much stronger. So King Kai wasn't happy about it, but basically had no choice in the matter. So at this time too, Frieza and Nail were fighting, but Nail, of course, was no match for Frieza. And once the skies got dark and everything, that's when Frieza realized, what the others were up to, and just, in a rage took off to head back and confront them. So basically there, and then before they can grant the third wish, the dragon disappeared, and the Dragon Balls turned into marble, and that was revealed because Guru had passed away. He was basically dying at this point, with his old age and this and that. So and also because of what Frieza was doing, it's what really sort of led to his death, is what they basically alluded to here. So, but it was cool though. And then of course the Namekian dragon as well. Porunga was definitely an interesting design. I just wanted to kind of say I do like it, not as much as Shenron, but I definitely do like Porunga's design, very unique. So anyway, so then Vegeta, realized too what the others were doing when the skies were dark, and goes to confront them. And just before he's about to basically strike them, that's when Frieza shows up on the scene, and that's sort of the beginning of the final battle, in the arc here. So. That's when I want to go ahead and just kind of talk about this. And that is, of course, as you can see here, Frieza, who is the main villain of the arc, and of course a true powerhouse, especially at this point, because he had powers that the other Z fighters just had never seen before, just like no other, basically. Even in his, because it's revealed too by Vegeta that Frieza has other forms, which again we can see here. So Frieza decides to transform, even in his base form, his first form. He's still incredibly powerful, but he decides to humor Vegeta and transform. And then of course his second form is very large, and his horns are curved upwards. So and he reveals too that his power level is over 1 million in that second form of his, which was crazy. I mean, it was already ridiculous in his first form, where it's dealing with a power level of over 500,000. They say about 530,000. So, and then it's over 1 million in his second form. I mean, these are just insane power levels here. Especially when you're talking about the other fighters, who. A lot of them like Gohan, Krillin, power levels basically considered like under 20,000, even after Guru boosts their abilities. So it's just an insane difference in power. So Frieza is kind of pretty much getting the upper hand in the battle here. But, Piccolo, who is also on Namek, who's venturing to the battle, stumbles across Nail, and of course that's when Nail convinces Piccolo to fuse with him, and Piccolo gets a pretty huge Zenkai boost there in his power. Then Piccolo shows up on the scene, and he's more than a match for Frieza in his second form, and has the upper hand in the battle, and that's when Frieza's forced to transform again, and to his third form, which is certainly his more menacing looking form, you would say. That's when it came out that Akira Toriyama was inspired by Alien, and Frieza has that very xenomorph looking form at this point, so which was very, very cool. So, but here though, obviously in Frieza's third form, more than a match for Piccolo, and it takes, Gohan, who had also previously, well, Frieza in his second form, had gone into that rage mode, where he's got that uncontrollable power, and he unleashed it again on Frieza in his third form, once Frieza was pummeling Piccolo, and had dealt some damage to Frieza, and Frieza just decided it was time to not mess around anymore with these fighters, and decided to go to his fourth and final form, which again, that's what it is known as, his final form, and that's when it's revealed, and it's shown. It's just a very, it's that sort of very basic looking form, the most basic looking of all the forms. He's just got that sort of gray and purple colorations on his body, and just looks plain, yet his power is just insane. Because it's revealed that at full strength, that Frieza's power level is actually 120 million. He didn't reveal much of his true power at this point because he didn't need to against the other fighters, but he basically had all of them on the ropes, and he was just completely just a completely sinister, evil being here. I mean, first thing he did after he transformed into his final form was kill Dende, because he knew Dende could heal the others, and that was obviously going to be a major issue with him during the battle. So he killed Dende, and the others just were basically powerless at this point. Vegeta tried to put up a fight, thinking that he had boosted his power because he had Krillin injure him severely on purpose, and then had Dende heal him, who reluctantly did, before Dende was killed off, but unfortunately Vegeta was absolutely no match for Frieza, and Frieza basically brought him to the brink of death. And of course, this is when Goku revived and made it to the scene, which you were thinking was just in the nick of time, but obviously Vegeta did perish at the hands of Frieza anyway. But you see Vegeta's sort of moment there where he's in tears and talking to Goku about how Frieza, it was revealed that Frieza was the one that murdered the Saiyans, destroying the planet Vegeta, and that Frieza basically caused Vegeta to become the person who he was, this sort of, ruthless, evil person. And it was just is definitely one of those sort of heart-wrenching scenes, that you see. But Frieza silences Vegeta anyway, and then it's left to the true final battle, I guess you would say, which of course is between Goku and Frieza, and of course that part there in and of itself, Goku and Frieza's battle, their ultimate battle, that is my absolute favorite part of the arc. I really love the battle. It is very long and drawn out, a lot of people will tell you, but it's just, it's kind of understandable because this is such a major moment, because of Frieza. Frieza was the one that was basically the strong arm behind the Saiyans, and with them going out and conquering planets and this and that, and of course destroying the planet Vegeta, which Goku's father Bardock had sent Goku off to Earth as a baby, in one of their pods. He did that just shortly before the planet Vegeta was destroyed by Frieza, which I guess Goku was already scheduled to go to Earth anyway. I'm trying to remember everything correctly. I apologize, guys. Obviously not speaking scripted, just sort of speaking from my own knowledge. But anyway, though, I mean, this is the reason why, Frieza and his sort of whole empire that he was commanding with all his henchmen, the Saiyans and many other alien races who were working for him, conquering different planets, in the universe. So it was basically revealed that Frieza was the reason why Goku was on Earth to begin with, and of course, of course, which set in motion the whole events of Dragon Ball itself. Now, I watched Dragon Ball Z before I watched Dragon Ball, but still, though, it's still, I still definitely appreciated the fact that this was sort of the major culmination here of everything, all the events from Dragon Ball and, Dragon Ball Z up until this point. So this is why this was such a significant battle for Goku and Frieza. Goku, of course, he did put up a good, obviously he was much stronger than anybody Frieza had ever faced, and of course Goku's ability to use his Kaioken, and he could use Kaioken, I know times 10, maybe even times 20 as well. But even with those boosts in power, he was still no match for Frieza. Frieza only using 50% of his power, easily manhandled Goku at this point. Which is a shame. Goku's power level in his normal form, I believe they revealed, was 3 million. So even with, boosting it up, with like a Kaioken times 10 or times 20, whatever, he just wasn't going to match up against Frieza. So, especially if Frieza uses any inclination of his true power. So it was a losing effort. Goku, though, due to some distractions by Piccolo, etc., was able to gather up enough energy to use a Spirit Bomb on Frieza. They thought that Frieza was defeated after using it on him, but then it was revealed Frieza survived the Spirit Bomb. And immediately got to work. He unleashed a power blast, an energy blast on Piccolo, which didn't actually kill him. Piccolo was alive, but barely clinging to life. But then he set his sights on Krillin and actually went and dispatched him. Using his energy to he sort of almost telekinetically lifted Krillin into the air and then caused Krillin to explode. He actually blew him up. It was kind of a gruesome scene. I mean, they didn't show a lot, at least not in any versions I've seen. But certainly sort of a horrifying scene and sad to see, because Krillin definitely a very liked character, at least by me anyway, and I know others like Krillin a lot as well. And this is what really triggers Goku here, and that is why I wanted to shift gears and discuss this, my favorite thing of all time with DBZ, and that of course is this. And of course I am talking about the thing that Vegeta kept alluding to up until this point, and that is of course the legendary transformation for a Saiyan to reach a power called the Super Saiyan form, which obviously Vegeta, only knew sort of legends of it and whatnot, didn't know a lot about it, but sort of what he was talking to and what had been building up during the arc came into fruition here once Frieza killed Krillin. It triggered Goku to unleash this huge, immense energy inside, which he seemed to sort of at moments during flashes show in his battle with Frieza, because you saw like sometimes like his eyes would sort of do like these weird like these weird flashes and whatnot, to show that Goku had this sort of hidden potential inside of him. Just unfortunately he wasn't really able to use it, but now this is when it was fully brought about. So it was a transformation due to immense pain over the loss of Krillin and immense rage over this. So, and it caused Goku to transform into his Super Saiyan form, which obviously he's got the gold hair, the bluish greenish eyes, whichever we want to consider them, and just a tremendous boost in power. I know it's been stated that going from your normal form, your base form, for a Saiyan transforming into their Super Saiyan form increases their power level by by 50 times the amount. So it was, you know, so going by that, you know, it was later shown that Goku's full power here was 150 million. So obviously, you know, certainly far and away the strongest character we've seen up until this point. And I love this whole thing. I love the whole build up to it. I love the transformation into the Super Saiyan. And of course, I just love the Super Saiyan form. And then, of course, this is when we get this final showdown between Goku and Frieza. And Frieza has to use his full power to try to stand up against Goku. But again, like I said, he was actually, even though it seemed at first Frieza was maybe starting to overwhelm Goku once he unleashed his full power, Goku was still revealed that he was still stronger than Frieza was, you know, but Frieza also had engaged, you know, using his, I believe he used the Death Ball here when he threw it into the core of Namek to start to trigger the destruction of Namek, which he said was going to take place in 5 minutes, and obviously in DBZ time that took a hell of a long time, that 5 minutes, you know, but it just helped with the build up. Frieza thought he had defeated Goku at one point, you know, but it was revealed Goku was still alive. And then, of course, once, what was it? I believe after Piccolo had been revived, Kami obviously was revived on Earth, and so he and Mr. Popo gathered up the Earth's Dragon Balls and summoned Shenron, and that's when they had Shenron revive all, you know, everyone killed by Frieza, and so that was done. So then Porunga showed back up during Goku's battle with Frieza here, and of course Dende was revived as well, and then Goku communicating with King Kai and everything, they sort of relayed messages, you know, because then obviously Guru was back alive as well, and so they relayed the message for to have Dende make the wish in Namekian for everyone on the planet Namek except for Goku and Frieza to be transported to Earth, and that's what they did. And so now with the planet truly barren other than Super Saiyan Goku and Frieza, the two of them continued their fight, which was a losing battle for Frieza in the end, especially because his 100% in his final form drew a lot out of him and just weakened and tired him a lot. So so it definitely played into Goku's favor as well, and he just easily gained the upper hand. And of course, too, you remember Frieza tried to use that sort of energy disc that was similar to Krillin's Destructo disc, and he ends up slicing himself in half with it. But he was still alive and you know, just in very bad shape. And of course, you remember the grand finale of the battle with Frieza pleading to Goku to help him. And Goku gives him a little bit of energy so that Frieza could try to make it off the planet. You know, because Frieza said that he could survive in space. But Frieza uses that energy to quickly turn on Goku and try to defeat him just out of anger and rage. And because Frieza's just that evil and sinister, basically. And that's when Goku turns around out of rage, blasts Frieza, and, you know, presumed that Frieza was destroyed at that point, which obviously we know later on in the series turned out to be otherwise, but, you know, that's discussion for another day, possibly. Anyway, though, so Goku tries to use Frieza's ship to escape the planet last minute, but it wasn't working, and then Planet Namek ends up exploding there, which everybody on Earth finds out about later, you know. But it was sort of it was just sort of a very sombering feeling when you think Goku was killed in the blast. But during the conclusion of the arc here, when the Namekians use the Dragon Balls, Guru ends up dying off from old age anyways, but he passes his ability with the Dragon Balls on to the next elder. I forgot the Namek's name at the moment here. I do apologize, folks. But anyways, though, so now he's in possession, now he's in linked with the Dragon Balls, I should say, of Namek, after Guru passes. And so anyways, so they use them, have to use them on a couple different occasions in the Namekian Dragon Balls, but they are able to bring back the rest of their friends, Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu, I should say, sorry. And then finally, the Namekians, who were searching, trying to find a place that would be inhabitable for a new Namek, which they do end up finding, and have Porunga wish them to the new Namek. And before that happens, it was during those wishing periods at the end of the arc as well, it was revealed that Goku had survived, because of course he had found, I believe it was Captain Ginyu's ship, and escaped from the planet. Just punching a bunch of buttons in, and had escaped from Planet Namek. But he didn't want them to transport him back to Earth. He said that he wanted to just venture home on his own. So he was alive, but he didn't show back up on Earth at the end of the arc, because I guess he just wanted to make it back on his own. So you've got that, and then of course the Namekians leaving for their new Namek. And that basically concludes it. Vegeta, who is also on Earth, and sort of at this point changed, not really a bad guy anymore. He's not, I wouldn't really consider him a good guy at this point, though, but not really one of the villains anymore now, especially, since he was hanging with the others on Earth at this time. But also during this whole wishing phase as well, after it was revealed that Goku was still alive, Vegeta used another ship that Dr. Brief had created to escape from Earth it's not so much escape, but just to sneak off and use to leave Earth on his own, and search for Goku. So that happened as well. So sorry, I can't keep backtracking, just trying to remember everything as I go here. But that basically brought an end to the arc. So this was just kind of me discussing it, and I tried to sort of sum things up, even though I ended up getting more drawn out than I thought I would. I do apologize, folks. It's just that this whole arc, I just thought it was just so freaking amazing. I just loved everything. I loved the whole adventurous aspect of it, with them venturing to Namek, and then this whole three-way race to try to recover the Namekian Dragon Balls, and of course these strong forces out there, with obviously Frieza as the main villain. And Frieza, for that instance as well, I didn't mention it earlier, but he is my personal favorite villain from DBZ. I really love Frieza a lot as a villain. I just think he's the best. Obviously other people will maybe say Cell, or maybe even Boo, etc., etc. As far as DBZ goes. But for me personally, like I said, Frieza is my favorite villain. And his battle with Goku is, like I said, is just so iconic to me, and just so epic. And then even more epic was Goku transforming into a Super Saiyan finally. This true culmination here, which again, I just love that. That's Goku first transforming into a Super Saiyan is probably one of my all-time favorite moments in and of itself from Dragon Ball, from any of the Dragon Ball series, I should say. So I just have such nostalgic, fond memories growing up watching this. When I first was watching it on Toonami, they didn't have the entire arc at their disposal. They only had the entire Saiyan arc, and then they had up until the point in Namek, I should say, when Goku arrived, defeated Raccoon, and was starting to take on Jason Birder. And then just kind of cut off there. And then I think it was like a year later, once they were able to get the rest of the arc. And then, of course, that's when they changed the dubs up as well, because originally they had the Ocean dub that they were showing on Toonami, and then they changed it once Funimation took over, and you had the new voices, which was at first that did throw me off when they changed the voices. I don't know if any of you guys remember all this as well. I'm sure any of you who who've been fans since these days, back in the late 90s on Toonami. You know, which is when I really became a fan as a kid, more basically a young teen at this point. I think I really was, you know. I had seen some other anime before this, but this was just the ultimate to me, and to this day still is. You know, it's my all-time favorite anime. DBZ is, you know, etc., etc. And I prefer the original version of DBZ over the Kai version. The Kai version does cut a lot of the filler out, but to me, the filler isn't bad, and it kind of adds to the build-up, especially like in this arc. There's a lot of, you know, build up with things, and I don't know, just the filler kind of adds to it to me. So other people will disagree that they like the Kai version better. I like the traditional version of DBZ better. And again, that's what I grew up with anyways. So, but like I said, you know, so just kind of some things I wanted to touch on here, you know, and like I said, you know, this just to me was my favorite saga of of all of Dragon Ball Z, all of Dragon Ball, period. You know what I mean? The entire Dragon Ball series. So I just, you know, I was just really, really looking forward to being able to do this video. I didn't mean to make this, you know, upwards of an hour. I do apologize. But, you know, just there's a lot for me to discuss here, you know, a lot to talk about as far as the arc goes, and, you know, just kind of bringing up some of the things that I really, really love. But with that, though, so this does pretty much take us to the end here. You know, again, like I said, the Namekian / Frieza Saga, that entire arc, that is my favorite part of Dragon Ball Z. You know, I love so much about it, like I said. And then, of course, the ultimate for me, Goku's battle with Frieza, and you know, Goku becoming a Super Saiyan, etc. You know, there's just so much that I could talk about. I'm sure I could ramble on for hours just talking about this arc, but I'm trying to condense it, and I do apologize. I didn't intend for this, like I said before, I didn't intend for this to be this long, so I am sorry about that. But if any of you are still watching, though, like I said, this does wrap it up, so I would like to thank you so very much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you would like to like and or comment on any of my videos, please feel free to do so as well. And just remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you be good to yourselves, and sayonara.